So our exhibit, The Art of Mennonite Clocks, explores what clocks mean, what time meant to Mennonites, and how they captured time. And for them, they captured it in these wall clocks, who most of the time they started their lives out as gifts. So often young couples would get them on their wedding from one of their parents, and then they would be passed down as heirlooms to the next generations. It's an object that it was made by Mennonites for Mennonites, and that the art of Mennonite clockmaking started in the 1700s in Prussia. It flourished in Russia as they became settled in their colonies and villages in Russia, but also that overlaps with the Industrial Revolution. So if you think about farming and agricultural life versus life going to work in a factory, for example, and that's what the Industrial Revolution stands for, if you need to get to work at a certain time, you need a clock for that. And so at that point in history, clocks became more of an essential item in the home. And Mennonites followed suit. They were more agricultural people, but they did have these clocks, and time became a focus in the household as well. You'd have the day broken up, for example, stories like people say all the time, well, I remember my dad or my grandfather winding the clock twice a day. And so it does start to set the time within the household, not just the rising and the setting of the sun when you need to get out onto the farm. The design that people always associate with Kroger clocks was the most prolific, the Kroger family was the most prolific clockmaking family. The design, people know that that's a Mennonite clock because of the design. So that is distinctly unique to Mennonites in that way. But they didn't, invent the clock, or they just kind of were part of that wave. Each clockmaker had a different way of the mechanism is similar from clockmaker to clockmaker, but when you take the face off of the clock, you can see that lots of the makers left a mark on there. And often when people donate a clock to us, they say, I have no idea about this clock, when it was made, who made it. Once you take the face off, there are certain telltale marks on the gears. We have a few clocks that have faces off where you can see, okay, so there's a serial number. The Kroger's stamped every piece of the clock with this specific number. Other clockmakers actually etched their initials into the gears. So often the mechanisms inside can tell you a lot about the story as well. I don't know if they were uncomfortable when daylight savings time. I think daylight savings time kind of got introduced with the First World War. I don't have a sense of whether Mennonites were uncomfortable with it or not. We're uncomfortable with it twice a year, probably just like anybody else is, when we wake up late or show up super early by accident someplace.